G'day folks, welcome back to another video. This one in particular is going out under special requests from one of my subscribers, Jeff. Jeff's been very keen to get me to give you guys a detailed review of my Daiwa Blazon Telescopic rod. An amazingly phenomenal rod, right? Video is not sponsored in any way, in case you guys think that I get this stuff for free. This stuff's all bought by me, right? These are the details of the rod itself. It's I can't read it from the back there. It's an MB, standing for mobile. They call them a mobile pack. This particular rod comes from Japan. So it's a mobile pack. It's 6'6" and it's 6 pieces, and it's a telescopic spinning. So that's MB for mobile, 6'6", 6'6", and then the 6-piece TL for telescopic, and then spinning. I'm not sure, there might be a casting version. Casting is here in Australia what we call a bait caster. I'm not using a bait caster. This is a spinning rod. All right. Lure rating is anywhere from 1.8 to 7 grams. And a line rating from 4 to 8 pounds, which is a 2 to 4 kilo rod. It's probably about that. That's probably, I would say that it's that's fairly accurate. The one thing that I really like about this, I'm very biased towards the Daiwa blanks. Daiwa in the they have a type of blank. They're not all the same. The HVF. Just the normal HVF, not that. There's different versions. I don't know what they're called. There might be HVF Evolution, or it's got another word to say. They're not the ones. I find them a lot more whippier than the HVF. What I like about the HVF personally is that they're just crisp. So yeah, they're not like a twitching kind of. They're not a twitching rod, so a rod that you're going to be using for twitching plastics up and down. I think the best one of those that I own is not in the Daiwa. That's a Shimano. That'll be a Shimano Raider, one of the Ian Miller, the Raider 2, one of the Ian Miller rods. The crispness of the HVF, just like my other Daiwas that I really love. These are like the Itchy Twitchy. I've also got a Drunk Monkey. I think they're bizarre names, right? Bizarre names, but I believe they're part of the Team Daiwa, or the Daiwa Black. I don't know. The marketing of this stuff kind of gets a bit lost by me. It's part of the Black series. They're not necessarily new rods. They've been out for a while. I'm not an advocate of needing the latest and greatest to catch fish, but don't buy into that personally. So, rod itself, beautiful rod. It's beautiful, but there are some caveats to it, which I'll explain in this video. I'll tell you the weight of the rod itself with no reel on. Got my little. Okay, I'm just going to lean it like this. It's jumping anywhere between 83, 85 grams. I don't know. I'm going to give you... I've broken this rod twice at the tip. So each time I've lost about 1 centimeter. Let's just call it 90 grams. It's super light. Beautiful rod, right? I'll chuck it on. Let's put it on here with this reel, which is a Daiwa BG. Again, love the reels. It's a BG, which is the black and gold 2500, right? Amazing reel. That's about the balance that you probably want on there. I've got a 1505, I think in the old Chaldia. I don't know, it's probably laying around somewhere. A 1505 in the old Caldia, the white ones. And I think that the balance of that is not quite right. I think the 2500, which is the step up from the other one, this is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Really, really good. The only things that you're going to need to be careful of with this, like I said, I've broken it twice. I've broken it both times I've gone away having the rod with me, and both times I've had to do emergency repairs because I've broken the tip. Each time I've broken about 1 centimetre off. So if you see, just trying to break anything again. All right, that's about there. You'll be able to see, let me just cinch these down. All right, that should have been out here, right? That should have been out there. That's gone, right? And they're not from me being super crude with them or anything. What these are is that if you've kept your line in, right? There's a keeper down the bottom here. Down here, there's a keeper. So you obviously run your line through and attach the keeper down the bottom. If you have your drag set so strongly, you will break that tip. Just that force on that, of you mucking around with it, you will break the tip. It's happened the last time. That's how it happened. The first time was me really cinching down on an FG knot, trying to like bind down on it, and I've obviously, it comes with a neoprene. It's a neoprene case, but it's a bit heavier than neoprene. So if you've got like neoprene socks or neoprene gloves, it's not that kind of neoprene. There's something inside this that gives it a bit more stiffness, right? But for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a stiff neoprene, right? I can bend that, right? Gets its shape back together, but it'd be nicer if it was a bit stiffer. For example, like these are Savage Gear. Savage Gear have got a much, I've got a rod in there at the moment, but they're a much sturdier case, right? I've kept the Savage Gear to the side here so I can just compare the idea of telescopic versus multi-piece. So what I believe the benefits of this are, of this particular rod is that you can have something set up, have it in there, right? You would not zip everything. So if you've got your line running all the way through, you're not going to zip it all the way down. You're going to probably zip it about here, because otherwise you're going to fray your leader material in there. But you can effectively keep this set up in the back of your car, in your backpack. It's basically how I would set something up like this if I'm going to be traveling and I know that I might have a window of about 40 minutes to an hour where I can fish. So that'll go into my backpack. No one knows any better, I don't try and necessarily hide from my wife that I'm carrying a fishing rod. She knows me better than that. But it's usually in there. And if I do get an opportunity, like kids are on the playground or whatever, and we are somewhere nearby, I'm ready to go. It's ready to go. I'm out, and within 3 minutes, I've got the rod out and I'm casting, right? 3 minutes is probably your setup. If you've lined everything ahead of time, that's how long it takes, right? Amazing. It's not the exact same case if you've got a multi-piece setup, like, in this case, this is a Savage Gear, but I've also got an Akuma in here. Let's pull the Akuma out. All right. So we've got 4 pieces. This Akuma is exactly the same size, though it's a little lighter. Right. So this would be right in. The other one is 2 to 4 kilo. The Daiwa. And something like this, which is an Akuma X Factor. Again, it's a 6'6", 4-piece spinning, 1 to 3 kilo. Right. A little bit lighter. You can have this in your backpack as well, but your setup time on something like this is going to be a little bit different. You know, for a lot of people, it might not matter. And if you're traveling, it probably doesn't matter as well. If you're traveling on a plane and you just need to get good rods with you, what I tend to do if I am traveling and the crucialness of me being instant onto the water is not the biggest factor, then I actually prefer the multi-piece ordeal, right? Reason being is you usually, what I don't like in multi-pieces, I don't like odd numbers. 3 pieces, for example. 3 pieces are just weird, right? They're weird because the pieces don't all add up. What I like to do is I like to keep my line. Let me, again, we'll use another BG 2500 that I've got here. And all I would do is I would have this set up and I would just break it down in the middle and have this piece, 2 pieces together, and these two pieces together, acting as if I've got a 2-piece rod, which is typically what I'll use if I'm not traveling, right? But slowly and surely, I've kind of been moving more towards the appeal. I've been finding more of an appeal to having and purchasing multi-piece, like 4-piece rods or above, than having just a 2-piece. You know, before kids wasn't an issue. I've got this big monstrosity of a transportation case, which is like a big tube. It's if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Plano is the brand, Plano or Flambeau or something like that. And it's like a big bazooka. You know, it's got a big molded handle onto it. It's all black. You can adjust the height. You've got, you know, it's a nice case. I'm not going to deny that. Really nice case. But you do that before you got kids. I used to get away with that all the time. I would be traveling with my, before being married, even being married. My honeymoon, I took one of those to the Cook Islands. It's okay. When you've got kids and you're going to be traveling, the last thing you want is the complication of having to go to oversized baggage to go collect your tube. And I've had the tubes disappear on me. So the tube sometimes, because of the size, does not make the flight and it ends up somewhere else. So I end up, you know, in one particular case, my tubes, instead of going to Portugal, the tubes ended up in Germany, right? I got them 4 days later. Not a big deal. I don't think I've had it happen to New Zealand. New Zealand hasn't been an issue. I have taken the tube to New Zealand, but now that I've got my big suitcase that I've just, all my 4 pieces just go in there, like fly rods, for example, I just find that so much better. You know, so the whole long-windedness of all of that was that if you've got even numbers, so whether it's a 4-piece, a 4-piece, a 6-piece, an 8-piece, whatever, you can usually crack the rod down into a manageable size to fit into the back seat of the car, where you don't have to reset up the next time round. Next time round, you just, you know, bang, and you're in, right? That is probably actually quicker than doing this business with the telescopic rod. But having said that, the telescopic still has its place, where I think it's much quicker to set up and a lot less complicated. So I gave you the example. I could probably, with this, if I already had the line strung up, 3 minutes I'm probably casting, right? This will pack down, this whole thing will pack down into my bag. This one here, not so much, right? So if I've already got, again, if I've got this, a multi-piece strung up, you're not going to break them in 4 pieces. It's kind of, it's ludicrous because you just end up tangled, right? So what you would do is you would basically, you know, undo, you'll just start again. You'll just get your line, spool your line back in, and you will just break your rod down into something like this. Just trying to break it, huh? And you would put this into the car, right? Or your backpack. But every time you want to set up, setting this up, you've probably got about, If you're quick with your knots, I don't know, 10 minutes, let's say, versus about 3, right? The footprint as well, a little bit slightly smaller with the telescopic. Now, when a lot of people think of telescopic rods, they usually think of the telescopic rods, the real shitty ones, right? The real shitty ones that basically have at every piece. So you got the eye, and then this is a piece, and then you've got another. The next join at the top of that join is a guide. This is not like that. You've got the first section. In this first section here, you've got, including the tip, you've got 3 guides. So tip and another 2 guides that slide in there. Then your next one. All right, let me pull that out. All right, so that was your first. Let's go to the first piece here. All right, that's the guide. You've got these 3. I won't pull them down. And do your mark them with dots so that you can work that out. Right. You might have seen that in my other video. My other video is very, very shonky. All I did when I received a rod, bad lighting, bad everything else, I just grabbed the camera and I started filming, right? And it was a first impressions basically. This next section, right? That's where, see where my finger is here? That's the guide. That's where it finishes. This guide overruns that, right? It goes past it by about 1 inch, right? And you've got a floating guide here, right? Floating guide, brilliant. These floating guides and this rearrangement of things not ending up all there is what makes this an amazing, amazing rod, right? They're kind of made out of plastic with the eyelets in there. They're not bound down like in the same fashion as the Cast King Eagle Hawks, right? I've got a bait caster in that, but you still do have the same sensitivity of the tip. Again, I've broken the tip on the Eagle Hawk as well, right? I've been fortunate enough that in my lifetime I have very limited amount of rods that I've ever broken, but so far my track record with these ultralight telescopic rods, I've broken a tip, right? It's just, so I've got a video as well about how to fix a broken tip, because a broken tip is most likely what's going to happen if you run into trouble. But with a few bits and pieces that you can carry with you in a small little pouch, I'll make it as an emergency kit for a telescopic rod or for when you're traveling. There's some essential items in there, not only to fix a telescopic, but to fix any other rod that you may encounter, and also get yourself out of trouble on a more high-end reel, right? The high-end reels have got aluminium spools generally, or some form of aluminium composite. When you put your reels down onto rocks, onto concrete, onto whatever, and you don't do it like this, right, with the handle down, and you just literally grab it doing it that way, which I see all the time walking past the pier, right? Massive cardinal sin. Those people should not be allowed to buy expensive equipment, because basically it ends up junk so quick. It doesn't take much to get a nick or a dent in the lip of an aluminium spool that you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to fix that, or you're going to have to be replacing the spool, right? I've got ways already of done that. This spool, for example, there's a color here, it's slightly different color, right? I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but you've got gold around there, then you're going to see a little bit of silver. This has already had a repair, right? That just goes to show you that. So, look, I really, really, really like it. I really like it. The fact that I've broken it twice has not made me happy at all. And having said that, I'm probably, at some phase this year, I'm going to be replacing and purchasing another one. All right. So when I do end up buying a second, I'll probably move this. I'll still keep this in the car. This won't be retired until it's completely dead. But I'll be able to use, I won't feel so bad letting my sons fish with this rod, right? So rather than giving them the El Cheapo stuff from Kmart, right? I know that they enjoy fishing more by having quality stuff, but this real business like this versus this, they haven't quite grasped that. So anyway, that's my very long-winded assessment and review of the Daiwa Blazon. If you're gonna, in Australia, you're not gonna be able to find this in the shops just easily. It's not part of the Australian Daiwa range, right? It's part of the Japanese. Japanese tend to have a lot of what they call the mobile pack, the MB. If you search up Daiwa MB, you'll probably find a stack of you'll be able to find a stack of rods that are in their mobile version, right? Their mobile typically tends to be telescopic, right? And I do favor the telescopic. They do have ones of multi-piece, you know. At the moment, I am looking at purchasing one that is from Daiwa. This one, I'm not sure if it's from Japan or the US. Again, it's not something that they sell in retail here in Australia. So you kind of got to go outside the general distribution in your country, especially if you're here in Australia. So if you are interested in this sort of thing, I think the price on average it was probably something like anywhere between 150 160 bucks. There are other models. The one that I wanted and the one that I found perfect for my needs was the 6'6". The lure weight is 1.8 to 7 gram, and the line is 4 to 8 pounds, which is 2 to 4 kilos. That I found to be perfect, right, for fishing down here in Melbourne. If you're going to go up north or the tropics or whatever, and you want to be using something like that, and the fish that you're going to be encountering are not necessarily just brim, then you probably want to go something a bit more up in weight. I nearly I've wrestled already with a mangrove jack with this, and I did not land it. I did not land the mangrove jack, but I didn't break the rod either, and the mangrove jack would have been legal. So that's my long-winded assessment of it. If you like this sort of stuff, or if you've got any questions, anything specific, I'll do my best, and I do read all of my comments. You might find if you do put comments in, you might find that you don't get the comment display up on screen straight away. The reason for that is because I've got all of my comments moderated. When I first started the channel, the very first couple of videos that I put up were regarding knives, and the viewers typically were from the US. So I'm assuming probably military men who did not like the stuff that I had to say. They did not like my opinion or my own assessment of what I thought about certain knives, and I got smashed with abuse. So now I have every video that I put up gets moderated. It automatically gets moderated, but I'm fairly quick to respond. So if you do have a question and you want to know more, or you want to know something very specifically, I'll do my best to answer it. If it's an abusive message, it's not going to go up, but if not, then your message will go up within, when I see it, which will happen. It's usually within a day, right? Sometimes within hours of a comment going up. I don't get notifications necessarily on my phone, but I'm pretty prompt, and I do respond to all legitimate messages, right? Not the abusive stuff, right? I have a zero threshold of putting up with that kind of behavior. I'm doing this stuff pretty much because I want to do it, and I don't feel that I deserve being abused for what is effectively my own opinion. All right. Yeah. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Have you got a telescopic rod with floating guides? I really like it. Really, really, really like it. And for me to be saying that I'm going to be purchasing a second, that says something, right? I don't have a lot of rods that I would go out and purchase again. Right? That's the honest truth. So, although I don't have a lot of reels, I have a lot of rods that fit the same reels, right? If you like this video and you got something from it, then please consider subscribing. I hope I've earned your subscription. Give me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are. Have you tried a telescopic rod? Because I dare to say, if I gave you this blindfolded and I told you to tell me what type of rod it was, how many piece, you would not know that it was telescopic. You would, not a chance you would know. Even by you feeling around, you wouldn't work it out. This is as good as a single piece, in my opinion, right? Especially for travel. You can't travel with a massive rod. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys on the next video. Ciao.